Think about the last thing you bought on Amazon. You didn't read the description or weigh the features. You saw it, something felt right, and you bought it. That wasn't an accident. Amazon spent billions building it that way. And after selling over $100 million on Amazon across dozens of brands and thousands of products, I have watched the same buyer behavior repeat again and again. The brands that win understand it. The ones that lose are stuck polishing the stuff that never mattered. Because your customers don't decide in the way you think. They are not reading your bullets or A+ content. They decide in the first few seconds on a few signals most brands ignore. So I'm going to break down the 3 things about how buyers actually decide on Amazon and what to fix on your own listing. And the third one is the reason a worse product than yours keeps winning the sale. The first shift, and the one that almost every brand gets backward, is they believe that the sale is won on the product page, the PDP, also known as product detail page. So they go there, they fix the brand story, the premium A+ content, which is all important, or the bullet points, and it all has its own feature, relevance. But truly the sale is won on the page before. It's won on the grid, or also known as the SERP, search engine results page. And that's where buyers, they're scanning through dozens and dozens of both sponsored and organic options. And yours truly has to stand out. And there's a few things that stand out there. There's the main image, there's the title, which is actually truncated, so we'll get into that later. And then there's the ratings, reviews, price, so a few key features that you have to stand out on. And you really have to win those items. And it all starts with the main image, by the way, because that's what really stops the scroll. And we see a brand that did this really, really well was Angry Orange. When Thrasio initially bought them, they were doing like $1 million or $2 million a year, and they changed the packaging to make it bright orange, very bright orange, scroll stopping, ahead of its time. And that alone 10x the revenue of the brand. So just because they made the main image more appealing, they put the main product, white background, it pops off the screen and it stopped the image. But then you have to have a title that complements that. And the title, you have to understand that within the mobile, only the first 80 characters show. And actually now Amazon made a policy to make the entire title 75 to 80 characters. So you really have to get a truncated, dense title that matters and complements your main image along there. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Then you obviously have ratings, reviews, and then we won't get into them much later. I'll describe more on them later. And then you obviously have the price. And as you win that, you want everything to kind of check out, to make sense, and to get the product, even have a chance to win that sale. You have to get that first click. So that's where it first starts. And even another thing that actually shows on the search engine result page is the badges, Amazon Choice, bestseller badge. So that's also why we strive to get those a lot, because again, without winning that first click, everything else becomes irrelevant. Your product detail page doesn't even have a chance to sell itself. But again, that's also only the first half of the story. So once they click on it, they get to your product detail page. Same concepts. You want all the main differentiators front loaded. So if you have a very strong differentiator, you not only do you want in the beginning of the title, let's say it's organic, or let's say it's whatever, you want that to be in the beginning, and also the same thing for the images. You want that main features to be in the second or third image, because the buyers seeing the images, it kind of goes, let's say 100% is on the first image, obviously starts there, then maybe the second image is 80%, then the third image is 60%, the fourth image is 30%, it goes down exponentially. So you want to make sure that the most important features and images and benefits, etc., are front loaded to the beginning of it, and same within the title, to make them very clear, simple, easy to read and to digest. Like I said, buyers are not reading through, they're scanning. They want to see them. Is it hitting their objections really quickly? So for example, on a kid's product, they want safety, safe tested. Is that on the second image, or are you hiding it all the way in the bullet points where no one can see it? So that's what you have to understand. And it also has to be intent-based SEO. You don't want keyword stuffing, because when they ask Alexa for shopping, what used to be Rufus, you want them to make sure they get the answers that they need specifically for your buyer avatar. So you want to make it, again, very simple, very clear, very easy to see, very digestible. You don't want it to be hidden and stuffed. You want the opposite of that. You want to give it to a 5-year-old kid or someone that uses TikTok a lot, right? That's where it's beneficial. What is this about? Quickly, tell me what this is about. Okay, what's the main things? If they're not able to tell you within 3 to 4 seconds, you're already losing that sale. So that's the first lesson, is you have to win the click fast, not only once, but twice. On the main search engine result page, but also on the sale, obviously. And you have to do that by having simple, clear, legible main features, UVPs, unique value proposition, front loaded to your customers. And one thing I didn't go in depth on purpose is actually your reviews, because your reviews are doing much more than just letting you win the click. And I'll get into that for the second pillar. But before I do that, if you want a teardown for your brand and how to move your brand further on Amazon, check us out at partnerships.voadera.com. apply for a partnership, see if your brand qualifies, if it's a good fit for both of us, and our team will reach out to you. So for the second pillar, that's where we jump into reviews. This is what's making a lot of brands frustrated, is reviews replace the job of what a brand used to do. Now we go into Amazon, we see a brand name, no vowels, a bunch of random letters, we can't pronounce it, but it's still eating your market share. And the reason that it's able to do that on Amazon specifically is because of ratings and reviews. Amazon have built a very clever system to make it so that your brand doesn't stand out, but actually it's the reviews and ratings that are Amazon dependent stand out. I think it's kind of the difference between the NBA and the NFL actually. Like for example, the NBA, it's a very star-loaded league. You know, LeBron James, you know, Stephen Curry, you know, all these star players. But in the NFL, everyone kind of sits behind a jersey, number 45, this tight end, right? So that's kind of the difference between Amazon and shop for brands now and brands in the past, is right now it's the ratings and reviews kind of brought down that mode of brand, and it's really been significant. So understanding that reviews and ratings played a role in how customers see things. It's not just price. Don't think the Chinese competitors only beating you on price. If they had a cheaper price, but they had garbage reviews, like a couple, let's say 100 reviews and a 3.2 star rating, they're not winning that sale. It's not only they have to have that strong price, but they have the reviews and ratings, which is Amazon's system. Again, they engineered it that way so they can win the sale and complement that cheap price. What can you do about this? And this is where we've seen a lot of brands drive branded search to drive in that initial sale and use Amazon as a cash register. So let's say you're using primarily TikTok influencers to display your product. That's the initial traction. You want your main image to match what was there, make it very clear. Again, going back to the first one, brands are gonna see the TikTok, they're 99% of the time, or let's just say 70% of the time, they're not gonna buy on there, they're gonna search that product on Amazon and they're gonna find yours and buy it because that's the product they saw on display. They don't trust if the other ones do the exact same thing they saw. And that's where you can still win that sale at a very higher price, and you still have that branded recognition come in. And you want to make sure you're playing into that. You have branded search, defensive campaigns. Your main image matches the ad, right? There's a lot of things that you're playing into that entire strategy and entire mode to still win that sale, despite random Chinese competitors or random competitors that have no branded, just have a product, winning that sale over you. But the branded buyer is usually the exception. Most of the buyers come in, especially on Amazon, they come in cold. And that's where the third pillar really factors in a lot of stuff. The buyer doesn't look at you in a vacuum, they compare you to other options. And that's usually a lot of times where people are losing the sale. By now, your competitor cleared the first gates. They won the first pillar was the 2 clicks, a search engine result page, and then they're going in your detailed project page. The second one was they had strong reviews and ratings, but this is where you can get an advantage. Amazon is engineered in such a way where you're graded on a curve. You can see similar items like this. You're obviously, everything's on the main engine result page. You can see all the options next to each other. So buyers are quickly comparing options to each other to find exactly what they need and what's most seamless to their needs. And this is where you can really differentiate yourself on Amazon, is to hit in on that buyer and that customer avatar's need so well that they are willing to pay more for you. And a lot of times people think it all comes down to price. This is a trap that we see a lot of brands fall into. You're not going to be able to beat your Chinese competitor on pricing on Amazon. They're straight to the manufacturer. They're willing to accept less margin. They have lower costs. They're evading a lot of times, sadly, taxes, whether we like it or not. So you cannot compete with them on price. You have to compete with them specifically on understanding your avatar, what they want, and giving that premium look to complement that as well. And here's the key, the comparison usually comes down to the one thing that buyers care most about. It's 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 things the buyer cares most about. I wish I could tell you what they were here, but it's obviously different for each customer avatar. But I'll tell you this, one thing that has been a big comparison factor to buyers, and Amazon spent billions building their entire infrastructure and moat around this, is supply chain delivery speed. So you think by sending it to Prime, that's equal playing field, but it's actually not the case. Within Prime, there's 3-day shipping, there's 2-day shipping, there's 1-day shipping, and there's same-day shipping. And the conversion rate difference between the 2-day shipping and the same-day shipping is 14%. Nothing else can get you that kind of lift in conversion rate that simply. So that's where we are making sure that our products are same-day shipping for a lot of places, because our buyers, and most of the buyers, again, this is one that's generically applied, care about that same-day shipping. But let's get into other stuff. Let's say I mentioned, for example, in the beginning, a kid item. For a kid item, safety is very important because safe materials, safe consumption, the kid, that's what mothers are looking for. Are you making sure you're playing into that? And that's where even if you have it in your product, the value is there. You want to make sure the perceived value is also there. And that's sadly more important than the value, whether we like it or not. So even if your product has a safe test certified test, but it's buried in the 6th bullet point, it's irrelevant because the perceived value isn't there. The customer doesn't know about it. So you have to make sure that your perceived value is matching your value and you're pushing that to your buyer. So the first thing is understanding your customer avatar, playing into the 1 to 3 things that they care about most, and making those, going back to the first pillar, making those very clear, legible, easy to read, so that you can win that sale. And the buyer, when they're comparing you, they see that they want the stuff that you specifically have, and you display them clearly and simply. And that's how you get the buyer psychology to work in your favor on Amazon. So those are the 3 things that over $100 million in sales taught me about Amazon. The first pillar is you have to win the click, not once, but twice. The second thing, that reviews have replaced brand as a trust signal. And the third thing, they never judge you alone, they compare you to others. But here's the thing, that's about winning the sale. How about the margins behind your brand? So if you want to learn about the 4 margin leaks that we found, watch this video here.